I asked, rank your top 10 anime of all time. Now, I know that this is going to be a mixed bag, and that's exactly why I did it because naturally, this is the type of conversation that I'm sure people have on a frequent basis, and rightfully so. I mean, it's kind of an important one to say the least. So, what I'm going to do is I like pulling it up on my phone,
Mm.
to just go over all the content stuff like that. I'm looking at the wrong channel. There we go. Let me go back to Full Power Podcast. Anyway, so yes, I asked the question, and y'all gave us some answers. So, as I pull this up, I'm gonna also reference that I should mention that we're gonna also reference my anime list as like
Yes.
some sort of official basis to go off of. Um, so I don't know why I'm struggling over here. One second,
I
because
wonder I was wondering this earlier when I was perusing my anime list, is I wonder how much of the Japanese population also uses my anime list, or is there a Japanese specific website for ranking anime? Um, because I know that the American audience is, like, probably pretty close to the Japanese audience, but I would imagine that it differs in some aspects, you know?
right, yeah, yeah. That's a good
Global.
question. I don't. So I can see them using it
Mm.
if there's like a language option. The reason why I say that,
True.
yeah, the reason why I say that is because my anime list is no stranger to using the Japanese titles for
It's true.
everything that's on there, which can be annoying. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
because
You're like, "What the fuck is this?"
yeah, because dude, like sometimes I'm literally just trying to like, like see what like if I hear about a show and I look it up and I'm just like, is this the right one? You know what I'm saying? Um,
You
so
know,
I have
Kyojin.
yeah. So I do have the responses pulled up now. Shout outs to technology. And I'm gonna go over some people's responses really quick, and then we're gonna compare and contrast to the official list that I'll also pull up. Um, and then that way we'll see how close those that responded are to what's apparently like. I don't even want to call it factual because it's
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, all this is opinionated. Let's not forget.
A lot of
Uh,
it's popularity contest too,
that is also very
right?
true.
Yeah.
And also to add, this is again another way to, I guess, see how and where people are at, mentally and how they, you know, consider these shows. So, anyways, I'm gonna go over some of the responses from Instagram first, and then we'll move on to like, the Twitter and then the YouTube community tab. There it is. All right. So the first list that I have here on Instagram, this person put down Made in Abyss,
Ooh, okay.
One Piece, Attack on Titan, Dragon Ball Z, Full Metal Alchemist.
Fullmetal Alchemist or Brotherhood?
They did not mention Brotherhood.
Ooh,
They did
interesting.
not mention
Makes
Brotherhood.
it okay,
Death Note,
obviously.
Spirited Away, Tokyo Ghoul,
Ooh, okay.
Doctor Stone, and then
Doctor Stone.
yeah, Doctor Stone is in their top 10. That's crazy.
Good for them.
Good for them, right? Yeah, shout outs, right? And then the last thing they have on here is Bleach. So I'm going to assume that Made in Abyss was their number one. So I read it from top to bottom, I
Okay,
guess.
that's fair. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Love Made in Abyss.
I
Incredible show.
I've personally never seen it.
Really?
I've heard about it. I've never seen it.
I think you'd like it. It kinda gives more, little kids going on an adventure vibe, but then gets, like,
Mm.
really dark
Oh.
really quick.
Oh,
So,
okay.
it's a lot of fun. Like,
Okay.
it's a well, fun might not be the right word. It's very good, um, very suspenseful, but a lot of fun. Like,
Okay.
there's a lot of heart in the show.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I can definitely with this list, I could definitely agree with having like One Piece on here. Definitely Attack on Titan, Dragon Ball Z, Full Metal, Death Note. I could and yeah, I guess why I don't want to sound like I'm lowballing Bleach. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like if you take into consideration like all of the years that have now since passed and all the new anime that we've gotten, I feel like Bleach is one of those shows that is starting to get like not pushed away, but like kind of nudged back a little bit.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
Would you think it's almost more so forgotten about in like new, especially with like a new, talked about it before, like this new era of anime fans coming in? I
Right.
I feel like Bleach is great. I personally haven't seen all of Bleach,
Mhm.
but I know how good it is. I know how compelling the story is. I mean, it was one of the big three, right? So obviously it's good.
Yeah, of course.
But it did stop before others, and it hasn't been in the mainstream consciousness as the other ones have. So
Right.
I understand why you feel that way.
Yeah.
I would say that in my own personal list, I don't even have One Piece because One Piece has
Oh.
such bad pacing issues. Like, you think like Naruto's bad with like how much filler there is, or all these other shows. One Piece's pacing is like, think about like how Dragon Ball is seen to some people, where it's like he's like charging the spirit bomb for like 5 episodes. One Piece has that same issue, but
Oh.
for 1,000+ episodes. It's like, and
Yeah.
it's tough. So One Piece, the story, great. One Piece, the anime, it's got some issues.
Yeah. Yeah. The next person that responded, you might recognize this person, and she only gave one answer, even though it's a top 10, but goes to show you
Okay,
she has some special
okay.
perks. All right. So this one comes from my fiance. So thanks,
Shout
babe,
outs.
for responding to the question of the week. She put one series. Now, granted, I will give her benefit of the doubt aside from her just doing whatever she wants. Um, she is slowly getting more acquainted and acclimated with anime in general.
Mm,
So you got to give her some leeway here because she wouldn't even be able to fill a top 5, I don't think. It's too soon, you know?
right.
But I do appreciate the response, and I definitely want to bring it up anyway because it's such a good show, and it was so good it caught me by surprise, and I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did.
Okay.
So that show is Terminator Zero.
Interesting. I'm
Yeah.
surprised you didn't leave Death Note as the answer, being that she's a Death Note junkie.
She's a Death Note junkie now, but it goes to show you that Terminator Zero was the only thing on the mind when she saw this
Mm,
question and answered. She could have put both,
that's true.
but she only put Terminator Zero.
Alright,
So kind of goes to show you like how
no
godlike the
doubt.
show was.
That just came out, right? Like, this past weekend.
Yeah, it came out literally last week on a Thursday. I don't know why it was on a Thursday, but Netflix scheduling is whatever. And I started watching it. I think that Friday night, like right after, and then I watched the first 2 episodes while she was asleep, and I was like, "This shit is fire." And then when she woke up, I was like, "Babe, I think you might like this show." And it's so funny because we had just got done. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, okay, Joey, this is a great conversation I'm throwing this in there, right?
Okay.
So we had a conversation. This is like some real shit too about how like and why anime to her is something that she's never really fucked with. And so I find it interesting, especially in our old age now, right? Like what people look at or how they perceive anime. And so, as you'll know very well, she was on the whole, it has like to summarize loosely, there's a bunch of tropes that she is not okay with.
Right.
And some of those usual tropes that I'm sure a lot of people kind of like they just overlook, or they don't really, like, it doesn't bother them because they're so used to it. So it's like whatever.
Yeah,
But coming from someone's perspective that again is not, this is not their forte, and they just see it at face value, it can really deter, I'm sure, a lot of people, right? And so some of those tropes are how some of the acting is, like how the voices sound, how Japan has like a certain like tonality, or how they like speak, I guess. And sometimes like when in anime, it's a little bit more exaggerated, of course.
very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course, can't, it goes without saying, but like how women are portrayed, right?
Yes.
A lot of
Yeah.
titties, guys. A lot of titties.
That can make sense as to why she liked Death Note so much too, because it didn't really pander to that audience. Is Death Note written by a female? What have you
No,
watched?
I don't think so. At least as far as I'm concerned, I don't think they're a female. I could be wrong. Imagine that shit would be fire. All this time, I had no idea. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Look at me.
But that makes sense, that because a series like Death Note doesn't really have any of that fan servicey stuff in it. And I think like a lot of American I shouldn't say that, but some of like the best, most popular animation that I can think of in the US doesn't really have that fan servicey aspect that a lot of anime does.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, I think, I think to her point, it was all fair. It was very fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, and I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if like a lot of people felt the same way as she did, right? So
My fiance feels
yeah,
the same way. Yeah.
okay, so Sarah can
It's like
join the
yeah.
conversation.
So it feels like when you're showing people anime for the first time, you gotta get something that's super safe. So that's why like something like
Yes,
a
yes,
Death Note is very safe
right, yeah.
in that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. So moving along, because I'm not gonna go through all the tropes and stuff like that. But y'all should know the tropes of anime, especially with the shonen genre and just a lot in general, right? So I literally was taking what she was saying, and then I was like, "So you have very great points, and that's fair, and that's totally okay to hold on to those feelings and to feel how you feel." Um, but I will say, just like with a lot of things, all anime is not the same, right? And the other thing that she mentioned, which is I'll add one more trope, is that um I guess I guess I don't know if you'd really consider it a trope, or maybe it is, but people don't realize it. Is that Japanese culture as a whole can be very xenophobic, right? And
Mm,
that's
mhm.
like it's very apparent. It's not like hidden, you and it shows because a lot of what Japan is about and what they've done and produced, it's just in their work. It's ingrained. However, like I said, not all anime is the same, and they are getting very progressive, and they are definitely getting way more inclusive, and there's a lot of newer additions and examples to stem off of, to basically separate like, hey, all of this stuff was made at an earlier point in time that reflected how their culture is. And I've actually talked in great length about this with Geekdom, who we're going to be talking about with other stuff later on the show. But um he is in full agreement with me. He 100%, him and I feel the same way. And Japan has, as great as they are, they have their issues. And the way I like to display it for people's imaginations is, if you have the world on a street, right? Japan is a neighbor. Whether they live next to you, whether they live across the street from you, but they're on the same street as you. And then all the other houses represent like the other countries in the world. Japan is that neighbor that acts like they are the only ones that live on that block.
Mm,
Okay?
interesting. Okay.
And like if you see them and they see you, and you say hi, you acknowledge them, then they'll engage. But if you keep it pushing, they're gonna keep it pushing. And that's how they are. So I bring all that up because I'm gonna tie this up now. Terminator Zero literally was like the perfect response to everything I said. Because, Crystal is someone who and I love this about her. She wants to see like variety. She wants to see like different types of people. And like again, like a lot of this stuff coming from Japan, obviously they're making shit that's relatable
Yeah,
to what
Japanese.
they will understand and know. You know what I'm saying? So here we have Terminator Zero. Main character is fuck black man. I'm just like, oh, like what? Like, okay, that's great, right? The other main character, female, and she whoops ass.
Mm.
Can't go wrong with that, right? Now, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but I will say this. Terminator Zero was so good that it caught me off guard, especially being that it's a Terminator anime, right? It's a very popular,
Yeah,
movie franchise that gets taken like a lot of inspiration gets taken from it into a lot of things that we see today.
Arnold is prolific.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um and so you wouldn't think like it would be anything like super substantial or whatever. Like, it's like, it's Terminator, of course, it's time, let's do it. But no, I feel like they delivered in a way. I don't want to call it over delivering, but they delivered in a way that I was not expecting. And I didn't think that's where they were going to take this. And I highly recommend that everybody go check out Terminator Zero. I already mentioned this on the last episode with Brother Ooch. I'm going to say it again. Y'all need to watch Terminator Zero. It needs to be added on your list. Whether you consider it top 10 or not, that's up to you. But
That'd be too early to tell.
dude, I'm telling you right now, and I should also say this, like in going with top 10, I feel like it's fair that top 10s should include or maybe just exclusively include shows that are done. Because in a way, when you think about it, it's kind of like unfair. But I can understand like something like One Piece. It's not finished, but it's like it's fucking
Right.
One Piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I said this also. I'll say it again. Episode 7. That's my favorite episode of Terminator Zero. And if you guys make it through, and you will see why.
So, it's on Netflix, right?
Yes, it's on Netflix.
Oh, that's that good.